Hey, what's up guys? Got another new video here for you. This is Tuned In Sports, back with another video and back into some college action. I know last week there was a video recorded for the preview for college, but we weren't able to get it up in time before the games had already been played, and at that point it's like, well, who really gives a crap about that? So we went ahead and not posted that one, and then we weren't able to do a review. So unfortunately, you guys weren't able to see that, but hey, you know, we're making up for it with a nice preview here tonight. And you know, all these games will be taking place tomorrow. This is Friday evening at the time of this recording. Video should be dropping around 8:30 tomorrow morning. So, you know, a lot for you guys to look forward to. But anyways, we got the Tuned In Sports crew here going on. My name's Bryson.
I'm David.
I'm Steve.
And I'm Don. And yeah, so we got some college football action. You know, honestly, there's an interesting mix of games this week because, you know, like the couple of teams that were playing somebody pretty good last week kind of have a break this week, and then the teams that were kind of had a easier opponent last week are playing good teams this week. So kind of like a flip-flop. And yeah, so interesting week to get it started on. But let's go ahead and start with, I say we go ahead and get started with Alabama first, just because, you know, they're playing against Mercer. The spread on this game is 54.5 points, and I think that might be underselling it a little bit. I wouldn't be surprised if Bryce Young is out of the game by the first quarter, and, you know, they put up 45 at halftime. And then, I mean, they, depending on how much they wanted to try, or, you know, how bad Mercer's defense is, this could easily be a 70-point affair, and, you know, without much thinking about it. So, like I said, you know, just go ahead and get that one out of the way. There's no way, no hope in hell that Mercer has a chance of even keeping it within 40, in my opinion. So,
Yeah, I fully agree. I mean, but I see it the opposite way. You know, Mercer wins.
Yeah, it's gonna be a tough game. Tough game for Bama.
Yeah, I see it the opposite way. Mercer blowing out Alabama by 70.
Yeah,
that sounds more realistic to me. You know.
Yeah, exactly.
But you know what? Yeah, to get back to being realistic, actually, yeah, Alabama's gonna probably have this at like a 40-point game by half, at least, probably. So, yeah, it's going to be a rough one for Mercer. But, you know what? It's good for the school because they're getting a chance to play against, you know, some of the top talent. So,
see how
see how they stack up, motherfucker.
or how they don't, more so.
Yeah, but hey, it's always a cool opportunity, nonetheless. Like,
they're getting a check, that's for sure.
Yeah, so I mean,
that's what it's about.
Gotta give it to Mercer for scheduling Alabama to begin with. So
yeah, you gotta hand it to Alabama for scheduling Mercer.
Yeah, I know.
way to go out on a limb, you know,
Yeah.
put yourself at risk there.
Yeah, so
Yeah, that's a Tom Osborne-esque. Very good, very nice. But yeah, hopefully they have a lot of ambulances on hand. You know, that way they can roll away all the players. Unfortunately, it's going to be like, you know, putting kids at war, right? You know, the guy's going to be able to cash all the money that goes for the school, but the kids are the ones going to take all the punishment.
Yeah, exactly.
Come home in body bags. You know, this is not going to be pretty at all. I mean, but I do like Mercer's uniforms. I think they're pretty sweet.
Yeah. Hey, there.
I was gonna say, there we go.
This is beautiful.
No, I totally see like 69-0.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's about what it's going to be, I think.
Yep.
Mercer's going to be lucky to even to venture into the Alabama side of the field, I think. It's not going to be pretty. I don't care who's playing quarterback for Alabama or when they take the starter out. It doesn't matter. This game's going to be a complete wipe.
Yeah.
I don't foresee them doing anything positive.
It's a Mercer fight song. Get ready for Saturday.
And that'll be playing up until kickoff, and then you'll hear the band again. So, but anyway,
the best part of the team is right there.
Yeah, that's the only thing that's gonna look good out there on the field is the Mercer if they happen to have the band take the field at halftime. But anyways, like I said, there's a reason we started with that. It's gonna be a cakewalk. And nothing else.
Well,
let's go ahead and move into Florida State next, because if you're looking at Florida State versus Jacksonville State, especially back in the day, you would say that this would be another cakewalk as well. But with that being said, Jacksonville State almost knocked them off a couple years ago. So will the same thing happen here? I don't know. One would presume that they're going to have their quarterback that came in at the end of the game last week starting. If not, then, you got to wonder if this
coach.
Yeah, I was going to say, if not, you got to wonder if the coach, if he has COVID or what's going on with him.
Yeah.
But honestly, from what you watch, or from what we watched, I feel like you can't really just not play the guy at this point. You got to put him in there and see what it equals for the rest of the season. I think the team really kind of galvanized around him last week, and I think that could be a good sign of good things for them moving forward if they're able to play with the intensity defensively last week that they had, and if the offense is able to look like maybe a team that's trying to score points, that might be kind of beneficial as well. And to have a quarterback that can hit a wide open receiver is always kind of nice. So, in my opinion, there'll be plenty of those. So if he can hit them, then I think Florida State should be able to handle this one. But, like I said, Jacksonville State almost beat them the other day. I don't necessarily see this as like the Alabama game where I think it'll be 40-0 at halftime. I wouldn't be surprised if Jacksonville State hangs around a little bit closer, but I still think Florida State will walk over them in the end and kind of ride the wave of momentum that started last week.
I would tend to agree with you. I think last week's showing was actually a real positive for most Florida State fans. They definitely weren't supposed to win that game. So for them going in there and then kind of just by chance, the other quarterback got in the game, and it ended up being a nice thing. And I see good things happening for Florida State moving forward. I think it's going to revitalize the program, and hopefully, they'll get things turned around. But this game won't be close. I agree with Bryson. It's not going to be 50-0 or something like that, but it'll be, it won't be a game that's in question by the end for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think myself, I just read that actually just right now, it was 2 days ago, the head coach still hasn't declared who his starting quarterback is. So if he chooses the Travis way, he should be fired. This is ridiculous. He should have done that. Shouldn't have been no question about game one who should have started.
Mm-hmm.
So if he goes another week, even though it is Jacksonville State, this is just idiotic. Milton's the guy. Milton's the one that has the skill set. The team plays obviously faster and everything else with him.
Mm-hmm.
So put him in. If he doesn't start Milton, then this dude's a lost cause.
Mm-hmm.
Might as well just go ahead and just pack his bags up just like the previous coach. Here's your one season. See you later.
Yeah.
Get the hell out of here, because this is ridiculous if you're going to start this clown.
Yeah.
Travis is horrible. Milton is the way to go. The team, like I said, is just unbelievably different. The talent level, speed factor should be able to take Jacksonville State out by at least third quarter.
Mm-hmm.
It should end up to be a shellacking, I believe, at the end, if Milton starts. If it's the other knucklehead, who knows? They might lose.
I agree completely.
Yeah, as far as my opinion on the game, I don't know. I mean, this team kind of to me has a different feel than the teams from the past 2 years. I feel like they overall just look a lot better, like than especially last year's team. I mean, they pulled off a game against North Carolina, but really, I mean, was North Carolina ranked? Like, I think they were ranked a little bit too high at the time that they played them. So, but nonetheless, last week's performance was great, and this week's performance I see being no different, but I see us getting a W this time. So, you know what? I would say it's going to be at least 40 point win.
Yeah.
That's what I'm going with.
Yeah. But I mean, I would have to say, I mean, even if I think at the end of the day he'll end up starting Milton, I would hope. But the fact that he hasn't made up his mind about it yet is kind of like, I mean, what else do you need to see? I mean, you almost beat one of the perennial top dogs in the league last week, and the team looked completely different when he came in. The guy ran, he scrambled just like Travis, maybe not as fast, but he scrambled some. He threw it way better. I mean, if you put Travis back in there at the end of the day, at the start of this next game, what are you telling the fans? Just like, oh, well, we got somebody that we think is really good, but we're gonna keep shoving this guy down your throat. So I agree. I agree with Don. I mean, if Travis comes out there as the starter for this next game, then the guy needs to have his health examined and should be fired. So anyway, let's move on to the next game. We have let's go ahead and do Nevada next. They're taking on Idaho State, so not the Vandals this time. I think that's coming a little bit later in the season, maybe. Actually, no, they're never mind. They're whack. But anyway, years and years of playing Idaho, and now we're taking on their counterparts, Idaho State, which in some respects I think might be a tougher opponent than the Vandals.
Yeah. This is an old Big Sky way back.
Yeah. So I think Idaho State might be a little bit better than the Vandals, to be honest with you. So, I look at them as a more serious opponent than the Potato Heads over there. But, with that being said, I really think that at the end of the day, there's a lot of hype around Nevada coming into this season, especially with the quarterback, Carson Strong. And, a lot of talk about, the potential that this team has for this season, especially after the way that they performed last season. They did really well for a while there, and then, as usual, can't beat Hawaii in Hawaii, and then, just can't take care of business in other areas as well. But with that being said, we got some returning starters, we got returning quarterback, and I think thoughts are pretty high about this team. Unfortunately, I still am not a big fan of the coach, to be honest with you. I think that in many instances the team is winning in spite of him, not because of him. Because, I mean, I just kind of look at him kind of like the Doug Peterson type, where it's like, well, yeah, he's got the team playing and stuff, but man, some of the plays that you see him make, some of the analytics and the fourth down, let's just go ahead and go for it on this down and stuff like that, because, like I said, you get into that whole analytics spiel if you watched our content last year with the Eagles. I mean, that's how I feel watching this guy coach. It really is.
What about FSU last week going for it on their own 33?
Well,
on fourth.
Well, I was going to say, we're talking about the same guy that's unsure about who should be starting quarterback next week. So, I already put him in the loony bin category anyways. But nonetheless, I'm not sold on this coach. But with that being said, he's got a decent record at each of the years that he's been there. So, I guess I can't talk too much. But anyway, with that being said, I think Nevada's going to win this game. They need to win this game. But going back to what I was saying about the coach, I would not be surprised if they drop a game to somebody that they should beat And I'm not saying it's going to be Idaho State, but it wouldn't surprise me just because it seems like every season it's like, okay, this is a game we should handle, and then all of a sudden we find ourselves in a game and end up losing. So I'm hoping it's not against Idaho State. I don't think it will be. This is a game that if we are, what we're projected to be or whatever, we should handle this team. So I hope that we're able to do that, and I think we are going to end up winning this week. So hopefully they, are able to make it happen.
Yeah, well, this one to me, this is definitely one of those trap games for sure. They're gonna have to be prepared to play this, coming off a big road win in Cal.
Especially.
So this will definitely be one they need to put to bed early, aka Alabama style. Just get them off the field, get them back on the bus as quick as possible.
Yeah.
So hopefully they're able to do that. If not, we'll just have to watch another Nevada game in constant fear as we usually do. Because I think the following week or coming right after this is at Kansas State, so they're going to have to go to Manhattan, Kansas, the Little Apple, and play Kansas State. So this will be, again, like I said, hopefully a W, write them the check, and then we'll walk away without any injuries to key players. So we'll see what happens. But I definitely seeing Nevada beating Idaho State for sure.
Yeah.
I think Nevada definitely should handle this team. Beating Cal last week was pretty big in my opinion. I mean, Cal's generally pretty game team. Even against tougher opponents, I mean, they seem to show up all the time. So, that was a big win, and now you just got to keep the train rolling. Because, they come in unprepared. I mean, they could very easily end up letting the game slip away and end up losing somehow. So, but I do see Nevada winning, so, I mean.
I don't look at this game as anything but what Alabama just did. They're just putting this on the schedule because they know it's a guaranteed win. If this team is in the game, if this team plays in a game with this team, then they should lose. Let's face it. This is a glorified high school team they're playing. So, in my opinion, this should be a complete blowout, and I think it will be. I mean.
I mean, the spread's only 35. So.
Yeah.
I mean, 35 is a lot of points.
Yeah.
So, I mean, in my opinion, it should be that or more. So, I see it being that easily. I don't think Nevada slows down against this team. They should blow them out, and they will.
Yeah, hopefully. If we find ourselves in a game, like you say,
if they find themselves in a game, then they got big trouble coming.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
it's preparation, right?
Yeah.
That's just bad coaching. The team isn't ready to blow this team right out the water.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I mean that's the one reason I think it could happen. Like I said, I'm not sold on this guy.
I think this team has a lot to look forward to. They know. I mean, they're not. I mean, these coaches can sit there and say, "Oh, we don't look at media. We don't listen to this. We don't look at that." Don't think for a second. They don't know what their expectations are, and they know they need to blow this team out. That's what they're supposed to do, and I think they will. I mean, this is kind of like the first time in a long time Nevada's really relevant.
Mm-hmm.
So this is not a time for them to say, oh, let's just, half-ass it.
Mm-hmm.
They need to blow this team out, and they will. I think they'll win by over 40.
No, like I said, this first part of the season has been the most important part because you have Cal, you've got Kansas State, and you've got Boise State.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're able to run the table on that for Nevada, I think that's pretty damn good.
Yeah.
So
I agree.
Yeah. Well, hopefully they're able to, and if they do, then we'll definitely be here talking about it. So that would be great. With that being said, though, let's move on to some more competitive games here. Starting with Texas A&M.
Mercer Bears and Alabama.
Yeah, we're going back to the Alabama game.
Nail biters.
Yeah.
you got a better chance with the Bernstein Bears.
No, but in terms of intriguing matchups, Texas A&M is going on the road to Colorado. What do you think on this one?
Yeah, it's going to be played in Mile High or Empowerment Field, whatever they want to call it these days.
Yeah.
It's going to be in a nice large environment, but both teams came in struggling against their weaker opponents. So I don't know if they were game planning for each other already from last week. We were going to have JT Strout. He was a Tennessee transfer. He was supposed to be the quarterback, but unfortunately he went down with a knee injury of some sort. He was out for the season. So we had to put another freshman in, Lewis. Didn't look too good last week. Passing was definitely suspect. Did hit the open receivers when he could, but it was tough sledding for him. So I'm not sure in a bigger game with a bigger atmosphere how he's going to react. And if A&M pretty much runs the ball or ball controls it, I don't think they're going to have any chance to stay with A&M. But A&M struggled with their team too, which was I think it was like Kent State or something like that was another one. Just like Colorado wasn't until like the third or fourth quarter until they start stretching the lead out.
Uh-huh.
So again, I can't get a read on it. But with them being 5th or 6th in the nation, you would hope with Jimbo Fisher that they're pretty much loaded and ready to go. They just got to get it clicking, and then they'll be ready. And I think this is the game they'll probably start their roll for them.
Yeah.
So I hopefully altitude will take care of A&M and keep it close, but I really don't see it. I see like a 49-20 or something like that. So A&M.
Yeah.
Buff the 12th man. Anyway.
Yeah, this is definitely a step up from last week for Colorado. Well, actually, I would argue it's a step down because, who they played last week was pretty tough too,
Northern Colorado was
Yeah. That's a game school right there.
The Bears.
Yeah, but, yeah,
you should try Mercer.
Yeah.
I mean, they're no Jacksonville State, but
yeah, exactly. but to get back to what I was saying, this is gonna be a tough game. Colorado definitely needs to show up. The quarterback needs to, like you said, you're kind of uncertain. Like it's kind of an uncertainty on which quarterback's gonna show up. Like, is he gonna be good under pressure, or is he gonna be exactly what he was last week, which is suspect, So we'll kind of see what happens with that, but unfortunately, I don't know if I see the Buffs winning this one, regardless of if they were at home or not. Jimbo Fisher is about as good as it gets in college football in terms of coaches, and I fully expect him to have his guys ready to play. I see this being a little bit closer than 49-20, but
48.
I see this being maybe 35-14 or something around there. Which, or 21-35. I could see that.
Okay. As far as I'm concerned on this one, I agree. I think with the uncertainty at the quarterback position, and both teams coming off of a bit of a difficult opening game where they were really working through a lot of just working out the kinks, so to speak. When that situation happens and you got a road game in Colorado and in the Mile High or whatever it's called, they definitely got to come prepared. But with that being said, I think Texas A&M is they're supposed to be one of, if not, one of the better teams in college football, if not, one of the only ones that could possibly beat some of the, the cogs of the league, so to speak. And I think that this is going to be a game where they kind of, shred off the cobwebs a little bit and take it to them. And Colorado, I think that in general, I think that they were making strides to being a little bit more relevant than at least they had been in a handful of years. And then obviously the situation with the coach that left for Michigan State kind of put them in a difficult situation. But with that being said, I think last year they responded pretty well, and at least played tough all season long. And so with that being said, I look for Colorado to hopefully put up a good fight here in this game. Unfortunately, I think at some point, whether it be depth or something, I think that it might be a game for a little while, but I do see Texas A&M kind of stretching it out. And I would say probably around, like what Don was saying, but I would say probably 45 to 26. And I see most of those points for Colorado being scored early and then maybe a couple in garbage time. But I think come second half, it'll get taken out of a contest, unfortunately. But, good luck to the Buffs. I hope that they're able to play tough, and if they could somehow manage a win, holy crap, what a confidence booster going into Pac-10 or Pac whatever number play. That'd be a hell of a confidence booster going into that. So hopefully they could make it happen, and I'm sure the fans would be going nuts for that, but we'll see.
This is, in my opinion, a scenario where last week's performance for Texas A&M was probably all that meant was one hell of a hard practice week, is my guess. Jimbo Fisher probably ripped them a new ass to the point where they're going to come in here this week with an axe to grind, and they're probably going to pour a 45-gallon can.
45-gallon drum.
Throw that ass all over them. Unfortunately, and it's not to knock Colorado. I mean, Colorado's just in a tough spot here. They're playing one of the toughest teams in the country, and they're coming in there with a quarterback they weren't expecting to have to play. So, I mean, there's nothing like being thrown into the fire. This kid's going to be in for a fun afternoon, I think, with Texas A&M. Now, I realize that they're not always the greatest defensive team, but it is a big step up in talent from what they've seen so far. And like we said, Jimbo Fisher is he's a very good coach, and he'll have those guys ready to go. I mean, I'm with, like you guys, I'd love to see Colorado, hang with them, give them a game. It'd be great, for the rookie there, the freshman, if he could go out and have a successful day, but I don't see it happening, unfortunately.
Yeah. Hopefully, I mean, like I say, even on all these games, really, even on weeks when we don't think our teams are going to win or whatever, we're hoping for the best. Mm-hmm. So that's just the way it is. If they could win, that'd be awesome. Or I even think just playing them tough would be a really good.
Would be a victory.
Mm-hmm. Would be a victory.
And
yeah.
If they can.
No, if you can hang in with the top 6, top 5 team, and take it to the end, that definitely gives you more confidence and clout going into later games when you have to face Oregon and you got to face SC and stuff like that. So, which will be like, okay, we've played Texas A&M, we can handle them.
If we're hanging with Jacksonville State, we're doing something right. So,
Yeah, we're getting in when we're getting into these schools with cooler uniforms. You really need that experience. But no, I completely agree. It would be a victory, and especially with this new quarterback, I really think that this is going to be an opportunity to really see what he's got, because he's probably not going to see. On the level of defense, probably not going to see as many athletes on the field at one time as he's going to see until maybe Oregon or USC. He's not going to see it too often, but we'll find out real quick what he's made of. So.
And again, not to throw him under the bus.
No.
I mean, Chenault's little brother needs to step up and catch the ball. Rice's son needs to catch the ball. You know, everybody needs to step up into it because again, they do have athletes on that team.
Yeah.
So they just need to help him out. But like I said, the way it looked last week was, you know, he was missing people, and then when he did get it to him, they were dropping it. You know, the typical stuff.
Yeah.
You know, that's with it. So they also need to put it all together. You know.
Yeah. Exactly. No, I mean, like you say, they weren't expecting him to have to play right now. That's the reason why, you know, they brought in this other guy so he could, you know, sit a year and whatever. But hey, desperate times, desperate measures, I guess.
Yeah. Next man up.
Next man up. Exactly.
If nothing else, it's probably going to be a good experience for the young guy.
Yeah, I mean it's a total same Montez type thing where Montez started as a freshman.
Yeah.
It's the same situation. It's funny he's got the same number, I believe, 12. So
12,
that
yeah.
makes it even funnier with it. But it's exactly the same thing. He has talent. It's just, you know, has he grown enough or has enough you know, skill level to do it at the same age.
Yeah.
I think the game planning on the coach's end is going to be an important piece of this, as far as I don't want to call it a script, because defense coming across the line and just wreaking havoc usually screws up your script.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, and that's the thing with it too. I mean, Colorado's definitely run heavy. They have a pack of bison, you know, in the backfield. So I mean, they can go 4 or 5 deep with running backs.
Yeah.
With it too. So again, I'm sure A&M's going to be loading the box, so it's going to fall on Lewis's
QB
shoulders
number
to
12,
throw.
yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
because they're going to be keen on the run, and if Colorado can't run the ball, it's going to be a long day.
Yeah. All right, let's move into the final game, but certainly not least. We've got Michigan got a home game this week taking on the Washington Huskies. And from everything I was reading, it seemed like Michigan was pretty well favored in this game, as well as the fact that they were, you know, like 80% of America, you know, picked Michigan in this game. So, you know, is the Biz going to come into play?
It doesn't matter what they say. I've watched it too many times. Over the years, Michigan has not played against Washington all that well. They've lost to them in Rose Bowls, and I mean, it's always been a case where, for whatever reason, they don't fare well against this team. Talent-wise, Michigan can play with them. I think they probably have a better talent-wise team, but I don't know. I think Michigan will get a win. I don't think it's going to be pretty. I could see this game being like a, you know, 24-21 or 28-24 game, something like that, where it's still in question into the fourth quarter. But we'll see.
Yeah, I don't know about this one because again, this is you know what we talked about earlier. I mean, Washington pretty much got manhandled by an FCS school in Montana at home. So there's going to be a lot of I would say ass chewing after this week, or I hope there was, because that's ridiculous to lose. Most people were almost predicting the Huskies being North champs. You know, and then come out and throw that again. Reading the newspapers, I'm guessing, right? You know, thinking you're better than what you really are, not putting in the work, or not paying attention this week, or whatever it is. But hopefully they got their attention this week. I think Bell's out for the season, so that was a big blow because I know he caught some few passes last week. But I think Michigan's depth should be able to hold it. Because again, we just don't know what Husky team's going to show up. But if it's the one that showed up last week, I don't see him staying on the field that long. Because I mean, Montana just dominated. I mean, I watched some of the game because I was like, oh, let's just see what caused this, and Washington's not ready for it. And then, like we said, letting the small FCS school just roll the ball at will at the end of the game. I mean, they were, I think it was like 7-3. Washington or something like that. It was like low scoring, and then all of a sudden Montana just took over the game and just moved the ball pretty much at will, and so they ended up winning the game, you know, outright. So I don't know what to expect from them. But like you said, you know, as you always say, be ready because they'll probably bring their best game after last week. So, but I totally see Michigan winning this game.
Yeah.
Yeah, I fall in the same boat. You know, let's just say, I mean, Michigan generally is a pretty game team. I mean, you know, they generally only have, at least under Harbaugh, they generally only have like three or two losses every year, pretty much. So, I mean, I definitely don't see Washington being one of those two losses. I mean, especially considering like they were just mentioning the whole thing against Montana. That was a terrible showing. Couldn't stop anybody on defense, and that's only going to be worse if they against Michigan, who's actually, you know, got highly touted recruits. So yeah, I could see this one getting ugly, honestly, if Washington comes and plays like they did last week. I could see this being like at least 30-point game. So, I mean, we'll see what happens, but either way, I see Michigan winning. So, I fall in the same boat as them.
Yeah, you know, for me, I'd have to say that I think that Washington will come out, put on a strong performance this week. And, you know, I do think that they're going to look completely different than they did last week. Just like he said, you know, the coach is going to be ramming them all week long in practice. And I mean, as an organization, as a college football program, as a college in general, and especially as a college in the F1 thing, I truly believe that they should be embarrassed about that performance last week. And honestly, I think, you know, in some respects, whether they win or lose, the fact that you're even in a game with these teams is embarrassing as it is. But then to have it be a situation where, you know, it's 7-3, like Don was saying, and, you know, you can't even control the line of scrimmage, essentially, and, you know, you got this team just making you look like the Duke Blue Devils out there or something. I mean, come on, that's just unacceptable. And especially, I mean, don't get me wrong, I understand it's the first game, everybody's, you know, coming off of a weird season with the COVID, and it's still going on, and so, you know, practices are different and this, that, and the other thing. I get all that, but at the same time, you're a football coach, and your job is to get your guys ready to play. And from what it sounds like, they were not in any way ready to play last week. And as an organization and everything else, I mean, like I said, I think you should be embarrassed about that. You know, even losing to a Sun Belt team or something like that, you know, that should be not acceptable at the very least. But we're talking about people that can't even make it into that. So with that being said, if they take that approach and take offense to it and say, wow, that was unbelievable, unacceptable, and all that stuff, then I expect them to come out this week and make a big statement. With that being said, I think Michigan's going to win, but I would not be surprised, like Dad said, if it was a tight game. I'm going to say Michigan pulls it out with a late field goal, and I'm going to say 27-30. Michigan wins. But I wouldn't be surprised at all if this is a tighter game than, you know, I think the books say that it's like a 17-point spread or something like that. If I was to bet the game, I would take Washington, just because I think that they're a better program than what they showed. And, you know, I don't think that they had all these expectations coming into the season by accident. They obviously have some talent down there. It's just, you know, what is the coach doing? What's he doing to prepare the guys? And if that wasn't enough of a wake-up call for them to say, hey, we need to get our butts in gear here, then I guess they should have never had those, they should have never been considered to have a high season coming in. I mean, if last week's performance doesn't give them a shot in the foot and say, all right, let's start playing some football, then they're going to be asleep the whole season and they're just going to get walked through by team after team. So I think Washington will play really tough and like, wow, where was this last week? How come we struggled with Montana but we're able to do this against Michigan? But Michigan's going to win. And so any final thoughts on anything before we close this out?
Wish Alabama luck and Florida State, because they're going to need it.
Yeah.
Watch out for Mercer.
Mercer's taking the check and the W, motherfucker.
Yeah. I've been dreading this game since we beat them by 70 last year.
We've had this circle for 2 years now.
Yeah, exactly.
You knew it was coming.
Yeah.
You heard it here first.
Yeah.
Well, hey, I'm not gonna count Jacksonville State as a win because, like we've said, I mean, Florida State nearly lost to them a couple of years ago. So let's just hope that the Florida State from this year will show up. Well, I mean.
Well, yeah, I was going to say the game of the week is Oregon, Ohio State, of course. It's pretty much my last thought, even though it's not part of our teams, but that I think that's the game of the week.
Mm-hmm.
I think it starts at 9 o'clock, so it'll be early. So
Yeah.
Go Ducks.
Go Ducks.
Game of the week, Alabama,
Amen.
Mercer.
Yeah, no. I mean, I think that should be an interesting game. I think there's a lot of games between like non-ranked opponents that are going to be interesting that are taking place this week. I think I saw Tennessee is playing somebody like Kansas State or something like that this week. Just another interesting game. And I think Oregon and Ohio State, like he said, go Ducks. I really hope that they can get in there, play with them, and possibly knock them off. But with that being said, Ohio State is, pretty difficult to beat. Just ask Michigan. So, yeah. But hopefully, above all else, and I'll say this, and I always say this, above all else, it's nice to watch. Would be nice to watch a competitive game. I mean, and same thing goes for like Colorado and stuff. Regardless of whether or not they win or they lose or whatever, it's just nice to watch competitive football. I mean, at the end of the day, we can root for whoever we want, and we can say, oh, yay, this team, and boo this team and stuff. But at the end of the day, what really draws us to doing this channel and everything like that is football itself. I mean, even if my team, like for instance Alabama, I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm not losing any sleep over the fact that majority of the weeks I have nothing to worry about. But at the end of the day, I mean, even though I do enjoy watching them win, I would like to watch a competitive game sometimes. And that's because at the end of the day, regardless of who I'm rooting for, I enjoy watching football. And football is more exciting when the game is close, not a blowout from the get-go. So hopefully that we can watch some good games this week, and especially the Oregon-Ohio State game, because just looking at those teams, big schools. So
come over to our team for a year and you can struggle and you'll really enjoy it. You'll say, screw that, let me get back to Alabama 55-10 win against Auburn.
Yeah.
Because it sucks.
Yeah.
When your team's only got 1 or 2 wins.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah. Brutal.
Yeah. But I mean, with that being said, that's why I also root for the Wolfpack, because we can, mess around with UNLV. We can't beat Hawaii on the island, and
Yeah. That's just us being cheap, though. We just don't want to pay anybody.
Yeah, exactly. So, but anyways, thank you guys for watching this video. Hope you guys enjoyed the content. If you do, make sure you hit the subscribe button. Make sure you like it. And what are your thoughts on these games upcoming this week? What's your hot take? The Mercer beating Alabama by 70's already been taken, so don't try to claim that as your own. But with that being said, I'm Bryson.
I'm Bennett.
I'm Steve.
And I'm done.
And we'll see you guys in the next video.